This is a spiral back review, 8th grade, question number 1 out of 5. All right, this question ends up being a little bit detailed, so we have to be careful to grab a few bits of information here as we read it. A farmer needs to repair and build some fences. She has a roll of fencing that is 100 yards long, so I'm going to grab that. So she has 100 yards of fencing. First, she builds 5 identical. That's kind of nice. We only have to deal with, we figure out one, we'll have all 5. Next, she uses 10 feet. Okay, so I'm going to grab that word feet there. Gotta be really careful because she is talking in yards and now switches to feet. So be super careful on that and make sure we don't make an error there. After she completes this work, she has 40% of the original roll of fencing left. What is the length in yards of fencing for each garden? I think what I'd like to do first is figure out how much she used. Okay, and again, there's sometimes different ways to do these types of problems, and it's a mathematical process problem with computation. So you're just kind of working your way through that. So if you started with 100 yards, if I take 40% and turn it into 0.4, or 0.40 if you wish, and you can even put a 0 in front of that if that helps you, and I times that by 100 yards, so I don't confuse my feet and yards, I know that she had 40 yards left. Okay, so I'm going to take my 100 and I can subtract 40. They're both yards, so kind of like alike, so that I can go ahead and subtract those. I have 60 yards. So she used 60 yards. Okay, so that's really important to me. Okay, so the first thing that she does is she takes out 10 feet. Remember, there are 3 feet in 1 yard, so I need to divide that by 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let 10 feet, right, is actually 10 divided by 3 yards, which is 3 1/3 yards. So she used 10 feet, which is the same way to say that as 3 1/3 yards. And then when I'm dealing with yards, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, so now I have to subtract that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of fraction work. I'm going to put everything over 3 because I think that makes most sense. So if I have 60 over 1, because basically what I'm doing is I'm taking 60 and subtracting 3 1/3. So I could simplify this for myself and have a common denominator of 3. And this is over 1, so this would be 180 yards minus the 10 that we had up there. So the farmer, she has 170 divided by 3 yards of fencing left. So I can turn that into 56 2/3 yards. Now she made 5 identical. So I'm going to take that and divide that by 5. So actually what I am going to do, which I think is easier, is I'm going to go back to the 170 over 3. And I know I need to divide that by 5. Now you do have a calculator, so that is very handy right now. The process, of course, we know 170 divided by 3. Divided by is the same as times. 1/5. All right, so go ahead and get your calculator out with me and do some math. Either way you want to do that is fine. You guys all have those great calculators which help. Okay. So I'm going to do this. So I get down to 34 thirds, or 11 1/3 yards per vegetable garden. Okay? And either answer is actually acceptable. All right. Now I'd like for you to try one on your own. I don't go through this problem or stop the video, so just pause it and work as long as you need to and hand that in to your teacher. So this says, I'll read it to you, Kathy's internet company charges a connection fee of 21 cents for each call she makes from her computer. The company also charges 6 cents per minute for each call she made from her computer. Kathy was charged $1.95 for 5 calls in January. Write an equation that can be used to determine the number of minutes Kathy talked on her 5 calls in January. Be sure to define the variable in your equation. How many minutes did Kathy talk? Did the 5 talk on the 5 calls in January? Part C, in February, Kathy made a total of 50 calls and was charged $40.50. Kathy claims she talked for a total of 250 minutes on her calls made in February. Explain why Kathy's claim is incorrect. Use numbers, words, and/or symbols to justify your answer. This also goes under math process in some number sense because you're going to be dealing with decimals again and working your way through. So be careful and use your calculator.